The motion picture you are about to see.
You and your people, you stole them and you sold them!
All right, guys, so I have some brand new releases that just came out. One that's kind of recently, but one that's kind of old. Some that are anthologies. And yeah, these are movies that you may want to check out for yourself that not a lot of people are talking about. So let's get into it. What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing my weekly watch list. It's sort of a mix of things, really, because I got some stuff sent to me that I watched this week. These are things that I watched that I thought were also interesting and that you might like, depending on who you are. Now, one of these is extremely niche, and it's for a very specific audience that might remember the movie. But one of these I absolutely loved, and I can't wait to talk about it. I saved that one for the end, but give these other ones a chance because I liked a lot of these too. Let's check them out together. I'm going to give you all the links to all the information down below for you to be able to pick this up if you want to get a physical copy of it. And I'll tell you where to watch it online if you can. Some of these you cannot watch online, so you have to pick them up, buy the physical media. I know, I don't make the rules around here. That's why I have a collection. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into my weekly watch list.
Every day, I am wishing for the destruction of this world.
All right, so first up, we have Death Cult. And I have not been able to find this in any registry anywhere. So this is like a weird anomaly movie that is a Japanese anthology, and I tried to do some research on this, but it is like so unknown. It's like they didn't register this movie the normal way. So I think if you don't pick this one up now, then you probably will never see it again. But I'll tell you what it's about and kind of give you an idea who put it together, although I'm still kind of trying to figure it out now. Now, MVD sent this out to me to check out. I actually asked if I could check it out myself because I was curious about it. I watched the trailer on it and it seemed like a really cool anthology with some unique ideas. They have this like really crazy synopsis about some death cult or something like that, but it's essentially like 3 short stories that are pretty ingenious, and I actually ended up really liking this one quite a bit. A little different, you know, it's obviously on a budget, but they shoot it really well. The acting is done pretty well, and it's all in Japanese. Well, some of it's in English too, but very little. There's 3 stories, but this first one, Jamevu, is about a disabled woman who is losing her mind. Everyone that's in her life is kind of coming in and out, but it's through the perspective of her. So you don't really know if what she's seeing and who these people are who she thinks they are. So really, it's kind of like the perspective of someone who's kind of got dementia almost and doesn't know who the people are, and them like waking up and going through these weird things. The movie started, or the short started off with this kid going to reach for some oil. They were like frying tempura, which is the shrimp, and he pulls it on her, and then she saves him, but she's sort of like physically disabled and also like mentally losing it. They didn't really explain it, but by the end, it's got like a very twisted, kind of sentimental ending. In fact, all of these did. But this one was really cool. I thought it was a really nice look as the mystery as to what is going on, and I really haven't seen anything that is kind of comparable. So I thought it was really unique for a very indie film that looked good and really had me by the seat of my pants. Like I was genuinely engaged. The next one on this death cult is called Transcend by Kazuhiro Taira, which is about a virus that is spreading that causes you to attack those that you love. It's kind of like a zombie thing, but it's much more mental. And it's about this girl and this other girl who didn't get along before having to team up in this apocalypse. And they ended up kind of like having this weird mother-daughter relationship with each other, and things go poorly. This one I liked, but it was a little confusing as to what exactly was happening. But they have some really cool segments in the movie where you just don't know who to trust and if someone's sick, and I thought they did a really good job. It's not like your typical zombie movie where they're like biting after each other and running away from all these things. It's more about their intimate sort of thing that they've got going on and whether or not they should trust each other. So it's kind of playing with that. And I thought it was actually pretty decent. Again, I'm not just saying that, like I genuinely was like engaged, and I didn't think I was going to be that engaged in this movie entirely. The last one is called Crime Walks at Night by Dynamite Tyra, and it is about a murderer who is like going around killing bad guys, and he's like doing it through some sort of website, and this couple are kind of together and they end up kind of bumping into this world, and it turns their world upside down, and you find out that there's this like underbelly of like some crazy stuff going on of people trying to kill each other using the internet, and it's kind of cool. This one has like a sort of deeper lore to it. It has a lot of mystery. All three of these have a lot of mystery to them, but you kind of get to figure it out by the end, and then there's something so sweet about it by the end, but then they hit you with the really fucked up thing after that at the very end. So it'll be like, oh, wow, you know, and then it's like, oh, but actually, which I don't know. I would give this about a 6.5 out of 10. I genuinely thought it was way better than I expected. If you are a fan of anthologies, I honestly think, and you like independent ones, this would be one for you. If you don't like independent films, don't even bother. But I still think it's very competently made. So, but that's just me, is my feelings. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. And if you'd like to pick up a copy, it's pretty cheap.
What kind of vacation is this?
Up next, we have Witch Story, which I have to give a shout out to Cobweb's channel, because he is the reason that I got this movie. Now, I saw this in the Vinegar Syndrome store, and I really like, you know, weird Italian horror movies out of the blue. And this is one that's kind of like an Italian movie that was made in America, in Florida, in fact, with a bunch of American kids and like speaking English. You know, it wasn't like the typical Italian horror film where they like dub in afterwards, but this is insane. This was a crazy story. It's essentially about some siblings and their friends that go on a visit to this inherited house, and they're unaware that it's haunted by demons and a witch's ghost who's seeking revenge for her execution in front of the house. In fact, the movie starts off with that execution in the very beginning, and this woman and her daughter, and like she's like, Satan's cool and you're gonna love him. And then these villagers come and then take her out, and then like there's this, it's really strange because this is by director Alessandro Capone. It was his feature film that he first did, and he actually went on to do other movies like Primetime Murder, and recently I just did a review of Reality Killers, which was like a short segment, and he had one of the shorts in that. This has elements of like Night of the Demons to it. It should make anybody who's a fan of that sort of series, who could even go all the way to the end of Night of the Demons and watch all of the movies and still kind of like them for some odd, weird thing, come out the other end on this one and enjoy it. It's not done as good. It's not like the best production. It's not the best acting, but there's just something that has that like sort of get out there and do it kind of vibe about this movie. Some of the deaths, some of the kills, they really get really weird and bizarre. You know, it's a typical tropey kids in a fucking haunted cabin sort of thing, but it also has like all these other elements that go banana batshit crazy and like sort of the so bad it's good way that I absolutely love, which Night of the Demons has plenty of that in the franchise. Maybe not as much in the first one, although there is some. I would say that the graphic gore and stuff in the Night of the Demons is much better than this, but this one's actually no slouch. I really enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was, and Cobwebs was the one that suggested it to me. Thank you, buddy. I actually really am glad I picked up the 4K of this. The extras on it were really interesting too, so I really just enjoyed having this. I'm glad it's in my collection. It's like a lost movie that I just didn't know existed. Most people are going to score this pretty low just because they're not used to Italian cheese, but I give it a 7 out of 10, like easy. Like I will watch this again when I'm in the mood for like a haunted house or demon type movie or a witch movie. This is the one. This is my jam. I really enjoyed it. If you want to pick up a copy, I got a link down to the Vinegar Syndrome store down below so you can pick it up for yourself. It's only on that right now, and they have a few copies left, so you should be good.
believed in people. I believed in good and decency, but I learned.
Up next, we have Dark Mind, aka Intellectual Property, from 2006, which I didn't know this was a 2006 movie, but I had to look it up. I couldn't find it online, The Dark Mind. This one was pretty interesting. This is another one that MVD sent out to me on DVD. It's getting a release tomorrow, technically the 26th, along with Death Cult here. So just so you know, this one is by director Nick Peterson, who has done a lot of music videos for a lot of bands, a lot of shorts. He did stuff for like Evanescence, Five Finger Death Punch, Papa Roach. And he also has a feature film called Patient 7 and the 100 Candles game, which I think I did see. I wasn't a big fan, but this one I really kind of liked. It wasn't amazing. Let's just put it that way. It's definitely independent, but he does have an eye for his aesthetics in this movie that takes place in like sometime around McCarthyism, because they have a quote in the beginning of the movie talking about McCarthyism, and it's kind of like the dangers of McCarthyism in a way. Red Scare bullshit that they were trying to push back then that we found out later on was just McCarthy's bullshit. But it's pretty interesting. It's about this guy who's an inventor, and he's created this like crazy invention, many inventions over the course of his childhood. And he has this guy who's from Russia who has been his mentor and taught him how to be, really smart and kind of hone his skills to help him work on projects. You find out a lot about his projects. His projects got stolen from him. He has all these problems, and he wants to get money to create this final project that his mentor leaves him with. And this project is some special project that opens a door to reality or something. I won't say what it is. He's being like chased the entire time by the police and all these other things that are happening, and he starts to get himself involved in some pretty fucked up things. This is a kind of story of what it would be like if McCarthyism made up all these things and they actually ended up being true. If he said, oh, well, your sister and your brother were actually agents of this, the Red Scare, and they were actually out to get you. It's kind of one of those things, and I kind of liked it for that. I thought it was like not a heavy-handed sort of political take necessarily, just a movie about that kind of situation and what it was like. And I thought it was fairly creative, especially for 2006. Now, this isn't going to please everybody, but it is the director's cut, so it has everything that the director really wanted in it, and I liked it. The acting's a little weird, kind of done in like a comic book way, but it has a pretty decent thriller vibe, even if it takes a little too long to get where it needs to go by the end of the movie. I would give this one a 6 out of 10, just because it left me hanging for so long, but I ended up coming out the other end enjoying it. It kind of redeems itself by the end. It's not going to answer all your questions. It's one of those, leaving you aloof. So if that bothers you, I would not watch this. But I actually really liked it. So it's coming out tomorrow, or the 26th. If you want to pick up a copy, it's relatively cheap on DVD. You can rent it for $1.99. Check it out down below.
Some of the scenes you will see depict so-called reality as we perceive it in our waking moments. But draw it with care. For beyond that line, madness lies.
Up next, we have Psychotronica Collection Volume 2. I don't know what this one is. This is technically just the movie called Mondo Keyhole from 1966 by Jack Hill, who was infamous for doing a lot of really cool stuff. But this is about a serial sort of killer rapist, if you know what I'm saying. It's essentially about this guy named Howard Thorne, who is a serial rapist in Los Angeles in 1960s. And he is meeting women at work and at parties and then going after them and then sort of living out his fantasy. Even though he's a married man with a woman who loves him to death, she kind of knows about him and his weird perversions and things. And his sort of world starts to get really warped when he keeps doing it too frequently and he doesn't know what reality is. And so he starts losing his mind as these things occur because of the guilt and because of all this other stuff that's going on. And this is really the reason they call it Mondo Keyhole. Well, there's a couple of reasons. Essentially, they're just trying to get into that whole Mondo craze, but they also are trying to say, like, this is what it's like if you were to look through the keyhole into a serial killer rapist, his life. And It's not as, crazy or exploitative as it normally would seem. These are the kind of movies that were behind the curtain at the video store when we were kids, but not on the heavy side of that, where it was triple X. This is just right there on the edge, kind of exploitative. I was okay with it. I think it's more interesting, the history of it, than I really found the film. I didn't really get into it as much, but it was kind of interesting because apparently this is the full uncut. Other versions of this film online actually have been completely cut. There's no nudity, there's a lot of sexual depravity in this movie, and a lot of situations, by the way, they're definitely not normal. Supposed rape stuff is not as bad as I would think, part of the story, but it's not realistic, if that makes sense. Most of the original material was actually shot up close when they did it, and they cut it all up. And this is now finally getting out there. And this is the niche title that I was telling you that I think fans of weird exploitative films from the 60s might dig, but I don't think it's gonna win any new people over in this generation or, younger for a lot of people. Even the guy who did the commentary on this, the 2025 commentary, had never seen it before. So, but to give you kind of an idea, Jack Hill actually went to college, film school, with Francis Ford Coppola, and they both were making movies together, and even worked with Roger Corman to do a movie in 1963 called The Terror, which I think I've reviewed on the podcast. Francis Ford Coppola shot up to Oscar fame, while Jack sort of stayed with that low budget exploitation side, and he made a ton of money off of making these films and making a lot of money. So it's no slouch to Jack Hill here. He did The Big Dollhouse, which started that sort of women in prison sort of exploitative vibe. He also did blaxploitation films like Coffee and Foxy Brown. So, these are big films that are probably better than this one. Ultimately, it's interesting. Like I said, the history around it is more interesting if you're a collector of those kind of things, to start up a conversation or just to kind of know it. Quentin Tarantino has been a big fan of Jack's work, so if you can get an idea why he did, movies like he did, it's always been in that sort of weird exploitative kind of vein. But I love the intro of this. Kind of reminded me of the Twilight Zone, only a more perverse and weird one. But yeah, it had the same vibe about it. But yeah, you can get this on the 29th. It's coming out. So if you are a fan of this kind of thing, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I'd love to hear if you're a fan of this kind of stuff. This is my first time watching it. I honestly am kind of at a 4 out of 10 with it. I appreciate MVD sending it out to me and challenging me, because it's almost like they want to see what I'll do if I'll be honest. And of course I'm going to be honest. You know who I am. For those out there that know it, it may be their, big thing. And honestly, I think you can only pick up the uncut version now on the 29th. Link down below.
This is where the temptations begin. Unlimited temptations.
Up next, and a gift that was given to me by Resolution. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you. I got another big unboxing video of stuff that was sent to me by him that I still need to do. But this one is From Beyond the Grave, which is an old Amicus Pictures film that came out in 1974. It's an anthology, which Amicus were known for doing with their works. Now, if you don't know who Amicus is, they were kind of like this American film company that went out to the UK to basically be the rival of Hammer Horror Films, which Hammer Horror Films did the sort of gothic, Dracula and cool stuff like that, Frankenstein and shit like that. While these guys kind of went for more of a modern kind of vibe about it, which, is really appealing to me because I really like kind of modern takes, and to see this older Amicus production do a modern take with an anthology, this one being one of their best anthologies supposedly out of all of them that they ever did. Even though they had a short run of films, they still did quite a few that were really good. And watching this movie, it made me a big fan in a way that I did not realize, and I feel like I've missed out on. 4 short horror stories in it, revolving around a sort of like mysterious antique dealer who's the shop owner. That's Peter Cushing, by the way. And he has these antique pieces in it, and then, like, you know, they all hold like a deadly secret, kind of like if you've ever seen the series Friday the 13th, the series where they have all these antiques that they sold. It's kind of the same concept as that, and they probably stole it from this Amicus picture. But essentially each of the objects have some sort of like evil thing about them, and then a customer will come in and try to like rip off Peter Cushing by like lowering the price by switching tags or stealing it, or, you know, just stealing money from him or whatever it is. And he's this sweet old man who, it's just like, you know, when they get this item, they're gonna get fucked. And I don't mean physically, I just mean like screwed over. It's not an exploitation film, let me be clear about that. But each transaction leads to a separate horror movie tale, and they're all really good. There's only one that I wasn't even like that into, and it's got Loomis. Yeah, Loomis is in this movie. Well, not the character from Halloween, but obviously the actor Donald Pleasance. So yeah, obviously. Anyway, so this is by director Kevin Connor. This was his first feature film, and he did the movie Motel Hell. He also did The Land That Time Forgot, At the Earth's Core, The People That Time Forgot, and Warlords of the Deep. So you can kind of get a vibe of what he's done. He is kind of like working in the more, you know, sort of like working director thing now instead of the creative side like he used to do. But man, these are some pretty big titles that I watched growing up. So especially with Motel Hell, you know that this is going to be pretty decent as far as like entertainment wise. I think this one is really good. I was really amazed by this one, and I can't believe I've held off. So thank you, Resolution, for sending this one out to me. I really appreciate it. I literally feel like I've like opened up a whole new layer of horror that I missed out on. So it really feels pretty good. But I'm going to go over each of the shorts and kind of give you a quick idea of what they are and what I thought of them. The Gatecrasher, which is about a boy. There is The Gatecrasher, which is about a man who buys a mirror at that antique shop, and he lies about it. And of course, you know, there's a spirit in the damn thing, and it causes him to do some pretty heinous things. It is actually a really cool story. Fantastic. It's actually a really cool story that David Warner is in the movie for, famous British actor. I think he was the guy that got his head cut off in the Omen movies, or was it the Exorcist movies? I always get those two confused for some reason, because Heretic feels like an Omen movie. That one's really good. You got An Act of Kindness, which is about a man who befriends a sort of veteran beggar, and he lies to him about having a medal or something like that. And Donald Pleasance is the veteran beggar. I have a medal too. I was in the military. So he's basically faking false flag, kind of like pretending to be military. And he goes and buys a medal at the antique shop and then rips, you know, the guy off, and then comes about that there's something more to Donald Pleasance, who introduces him to his young daughter, who is very nice to him and like feeds them and all this other stuff. And there's something that happens to him and his family in this, which is pretty wild. I like this one, but it wasn't my favorite. It was my least favorite out of the 4, so I put this at 4th. Then they had another one that was more of a comedic one that I really, really enjoyed too, called The Elemental. And it's about this businessman who cheats the shopkeeper. He switches the tags of a snuff box that he buys, you know, where they used to snuff like, I don't know why, it was popular for a little while. So he buys this thing, he goes home, he finds out that he's got like a elemental on his shoulder by some lady who is on the train with him. She's like a medium, and then all hell starts breaking loose in his house, and he's being blamed for stuff that he's not doing, but is this elemental's fault, and the whole place gets upside down. He has to call like this medium, and it's pretty fun. I really thought it was a lot of fun. We also have The Door. This is my favorite one. They saved the best for last, which is about a man who buys an ornate door, like a really super ornate door for like 50 quid. He gets this ornate door, puts it on a wall that he's going to use for the door that he would put into a bookshelf. And when he opens up the door, it opens up into a blue room, like an old ancient mansion in some other universe where some guy is like out to try to find people to eat or something. I don't know. Steal their souls or something. But this one was fucking great. I love this one. This was my favorite story of all. The door is just so creepy and there's like some stuff in it. It's 60s stuff, right? You know, but it's really actually pretty fun and good stories that I think that actually still work to today. I really like this one. I think this was a really great find. They even have a really cool wrap up for the reel of the shopkeeper and stuff. And it makes you want to see more of these stories. So Peter Cushing does a really good job of being the shopkeeper and acting like he doesn't know what's going on, even though he's looming around every corner. So this one is online. So if you do want to watch it for like $3.99, you can, but you can still pick it up for pretty cheap online. There's not a lot of extras in this, but it looks great in the player. And I really enjoyed it. Glad to have it as one of my favorite anthologies now to rewatch. Check it out if you get the opportunity. Links down below.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right, guys. So that's everything. That's my weekly watch list. That's everything that I watched this week. We have a good array of different stuff that you probably have never seen before that you might want to write down and check out. I would love to hear from you if you've heard of any of these. If you like anthologies, we gave you a couple of those. If you like exploitation, you got one of those. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If any of these strike your fancy, even if you don't buy them, I'm just curious to know what you like and maybe do more of that in the future. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Thank you, MVD Entertainment, and all the people, including Ruthless Films and VCI, who did this release. You can see right there with MVD Visual. VCI puts out a lot of like good lost films. So hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. And as always, long live the void.